Students, today we start our first chapter, that is real number, of class 10. Now the first topic is Euclid's division lemma. Now, in order to prove this Euclid's division lemma, or what is this Euclid's division lemma, before we prove some concept or we see some concept, so that we can use this concept to prove Euclid's division lemma. Now what is the first concept? The first concept is divisibility. So what do you mean by this divisibility? We can say, consider a non-zero integer a. So we are considering a non-zero integer a divides b such that there exists an integer c so we can write down here b is equal to a into c. So that means we can say that here a b को divide करेगा कब? जब there another integer c exist होगा. So let us see some example how this statement is written or how this statement is true. Let us take 3 divides 36. Now 3 divides 36 means we can write down 36 by 3. Why? Because 3 divides 36, 3 36 को divide कर रहा है, तो जो divide कर रहा है वो नीचे आएगा, जो divide हो रहा है वो ऊपर आएगा, ये तो हमको पता है. तो अगर इसको आएगा तो आंसर कितना आएगा? 12 आएगा. तो ये जो 12 और आंसर आया यही आपका क्या है? C है. तो अगर ये C एग्जिस्ट करेगा तो वी कैन से दिस स्टेटमेंट 3 divides 36 इज ट्रू. इफ ये C एग्जिस्ट नहीं होगा तो वी कैन से दिस स्टेटमेंट 3 divides 36 is not true. So that means we can say that if we perform a division, if the output is an integer, we can say C exists. If output is not an integer, then we can say C does not exist. So अगर exist करेगा तो we can write down that statement in this format, that is b is equal to a into c. Similarly, this statement is also can be write down in the format. Here b is equal to how much? Now if you confuse, you write down here this equal to how much? b by a is equal to c. Now look at this statement and write down this as how much? Now here b is equal to 36. You can write down b is equal to 36. A is equal to 3 and C is equal to 12. So this implies you can write down B is equal to AC. So what is A here? 3 into 12. So that means C is an integer or C exists. You can write down C exists. So this statement is true. So similarly, if you take another example, if you write down 3 divides 23, is this statement true? Can you divide this 3 into 23? We cannot divide. The answer is not a integer, it is a what? We can say decimal number. So here C does not exist. C does not exist. That means we cannot write down this into which format? We can write down cannot write into which format? B is equal to A into C. So from the above discussion we clear that if you divide a number with another number, then if the answer is an integer, then we can write down that division process as b is equal to ac. If the answer is not an integer, then we can say c is not exist, so we cannot write down this into statement b is equal to ac. Now see, this is known as what? Or this statement is known as your divisibility. Now see how to write down, or some important points. Let us see some important points. If you write down a divides b, so what is the notation used here? You can write down this as a one line b. So this means what? This means a divides b. Similarly, if we write down a does not divides b, then that statement can be written as what? A does not divide b. So this notation is for what? Does not divide. Now see, you remember both this statement or both this notation because we are using this in the upcoming subject or upcoming chapters. Now let us take some examples. 4 and 20. So how can you write down this 4 and 20 in different ways? Now if I am write down minus 4 divides 20, if c exists, yes c exists, we can say here c exists because minus 4 20 को divide करेगा. How? You see minus 4, the answer is how much? Minus 5. So we can add on this into a which format? B is equal to AC. So we can add on here B, that is 20 is equal to A is how much? Minus 4 into C is how much? Minus 5. So this C exists. Similarly, you can also write down, let us take minus 4 divides minus 20. Here also C exists. So we can write down this implies minus 20 minus 4. So minus minus cancel, we get how much? 5. So we write down here minus 20 A into C. So again C exists. So like this you can check by a simple division process whether C exists or not. If C exists, then you can write down into this divisibility statement. Understood? Now the important part is, if you write down 4 divides 0, is the statement true? Is this statement true? 4 divides 0. 4 divides, we can write down 0 by 4. So you know that 0 by 4 is equal to how much? 0. This implies, so C is exist or not? Yes, C is exist. Now if C exists, then we can write down here B is equal to A into C. B is equal to how much? A into C. So B is equal to A is 4 into C. Now see, C exists here. But if you reverse this, 0 divides 4, that means this also reverse 4 by 0. So is this statement true? Is C exist? Let us see. So here B is equal to 4, A is equal to 0. Now see, can you multiply any number here? Can you multiply any number here with 0 so that the answer is 4? No, we cannot multiply any number with 0 to get answer 4. So that means here C does not exist. So that means this 0 by 4 or this 0 divides 4, 0 divides 4 or 4 by 0 statement is not true. Or we can write down here 4 is not divisible by 0. Yes or no? so we cannot write down this statement into this format. Now you understood? So what you learn here? We learn that if a is an integer, if a divides b, then there must be existence c. So that is, if this statement is true, we can write down this as a what? B is equal to A into C. So thank you students. Remember this. In next class we study our concept 2.